Okay, here we go. Welcome to our webinar. Today we'll be talking about utilizing Quartile's ad platform with Vitacup's brand and product strategy to accomplish goals for Q4 and beyond. My name is Martin Zuder. I'm the Director of Enterprise Brand Development here at Quartile, and our fantastic, super awesome guest that we have here today is Brandon Fishman, CEO of Vitacup. He's the founder and is an entrepreneur, founder of Vitacup and acts and sits on a board of digital marketing and as an Amazon advisor. In 2017, Brandon founded Vitacup and Vitacup is now a leading functional coffee brand in the country. He was able to take the company through multiple rounds of funding, with over 5,000 doors now where Vitacup is seen in the U.S., including Target and Sprouts, with over 30,000 subscribers on Amazon. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us, and honestly, congratulations on all that wonderful success.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, Brandon, today we're really looking to glean into how you've approached your Amazon ad strategy with the utilization and partnership through Quartile, and how you've kind of approached growing Vitacup that might be a little bit different to how traditional coffee brands grow online. Before we get into the deep of it or the thick of it, is there anything that you want to kind of preface into how you decided to, or the philosophy to how you approach Amazon that's a little bit different from how others might approach it?
Sure, happy to chat. We've been working with Quartile for about 5 or 6 years now. And they've, I really credit them to a lot of our success of growing our business on Amazon. Amazon makes up about 60% of Vitacup's business today, and it's been growing rapidly quarter over quarter since we started the business. I think one of the ways we've been so successful at it working with Quartile is many brands, when they work on Amazon, they optimize their account level to a certain tacos goal, total average cost of sale, or a certain ACoS goal or a certain ROAS goal. We don't do that. We actually look at the individual lifetime value and subscription rate and profitability of every single SKU. And then we work with Quartile to set up separate ACoS goals within the system to bid differently on each SKU based on the lifetime value behavior of each SKU. As an example, and we just started doing this about 3 years ago, and this is when we really started to see kind of explosive growth. We used to have, as an example, we sell coffee, but coffee is about 90% of our business, and tea is about 10%. For a while, we were actually spending quite a bit of money, this is 4 years ago, on tea, because tea is a cheaper cost per click than coffee, so it was a lower acquisition cost, so the algorithm was actually pushing more spend there. But then we realized that the lifetime value on tea was far less than it was for coffee for us. And then we have 3 or 4 coffee SKUs that have much higher lifetime values than the others. And when we started shifting the algorithm to bid heavier and spend more on the higher lifetime value SKUs, even though the acquisition cost was higher, that's when we really started to see the increases in revenue and increases in profitability, and also increases in subscriptions as well.
No, that's fantastic, which actually leads into our first topic here, looking at key metrics, lifetime value versus cost per acquisition. For those who are listening to this webinar that might be part of different brands that are CPGs that are kind of wrestling with finding the balance, how do you navigate that conversation? For those who want to prioritize efficiency and say, hey, we got to bring this cost per acquisition down, versus those who have a little bit more of a longer term vision for growth, how do you navigate that conversation as somebody who's trying to find that balance?
So it really depends on the type of company, right? If you're a one-off product, or you have to be profitable right away, that's a whole different story. But if you're a CPG brand and you're food or beverage and you really care about repeat rates and people coming back and subscribers, then you really have to look at lifetime value. If you're trying to optimize for profitability on first sale, or it's just, you're not going to grow on Amazon. Like, the cost per clicks are getting more expensive, competition's getting more. I mean, you have to look at lifetime value and hopefully be profitable, at least break even on order 1 and profitable by order 2. But all these guys that try to these days be profitable on order 1, it makes it pretty difficult.
No, for sure. There are a couple of metrics here that you look at in terms of data that's driving some of these changes and some of these conversations and considerations. I'll list them out here: product repeat rate / subscription acquisition, cohort analysis, CAC versus LTV, and ASIN profitability. So we've talked a little bit about the CAC versus LTV. Can you walk me through the other 3? Product repeat rate, subscription acquisition, cohort analysis, and ASIN profitability. How does those things?
Yes, we look at, if someone buys one of our coffees, say our Genius coffee on Vitacup on Amazon, we will look at kind of the 12-month and also the 24-month LTV if they're rebuying that SKU or any other SKU. So what's their kind of first entrance into Vitacup, and are they coming back and buying? And if they are, on a larger rate, like our Genius and our Perfect SKUs have our highest repeat rate, then we're going to spend a lot more money on them because we know we're going to be bringing in a higher
Right.
quality customer, versus some of our slim products, which have a low acquisition cost, but people use them for a few months and they stop. Maybe it's like a fad diet or something they want to try, but they don't drink them every day. So that's why we push to
Right. Right.
spend
Right.
our higher value SKUs.
And is there a hierarchy in how you would grade whether, it's subscription acquisition, like repeat purchase? Is it ASIN profitability? Is it different audiences or cohorts? How would you
Yeah,
rank
so
the importance of
overall,
those?
probably 2-year LTV kind of rules all. That's going to take into account subscriptions and it's going to take into account repeat rate. And then we kind of look at what that ratio is to acquisition cost. Basically,
And question, if you're open to talking
mhm,
about it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
just to get more technical with it, like on a weekly basis, we look at the ACOS performance, the tacos performance of every single SKU. And if a certain ASIN is kind of overperforming goals, then we will increase the IACOS goals in the Quartile system to bid heavier on that SKU and spend more.
Got it. And for those who are a little bit new to maybe ads and into the Quartile platform and this methodology, can you explain to them the difference between IACOS and tacos and ACOS?
I can. So let's just say you're running an ad, and spending $1,000 on advertising, and you do $1,000 from advertising on sales, right? That's basically a 1-to-1 ACOS or 100% ACOS. ACOS is actually the
100%.
opposite
Right.
of ROAS. So if I'm spending 500 and doing 1,000, that's a 50 ACOS, or someone call it a 2 ROAS, right? IACOS
Right.
is Quartile has an input in the back end to basically say, if I want to have a 30% ACOS goal on this, if my max ACOS goal on this is 30%, I actually might
Right.
set my IACOS at 25. So there's a threshold. I might set it at 36 because it might not spend all the way up to there and give it some room to learn and kind of scale
Right.
down. So it's basically the goal that you input into the Quartile system to try to hit a certain ACOS goal.
Got it. It's almost like the ideal ACOS, almost like the floor and ceiling.
Correct.
In what way has this functionality really been integral in accomplishing some of these goals that you've mentioned? Were there other tools that could have potentially offered this solution, or was this solution that Quartile provided really was the perfect fit in trying to be able to find this
It was a
perfect
perfect
and
fit
happy
for us. I
medium?
tried some other tools in the past, and I know I have I also run a Slack group with about 300 Amazon sellers, and we share a lot of data on what's working. And a lot of these
Right.
guys that are optimizing to an account level ACOS or an account level tacos are just missing out on all this repeat rate stuff and everything else I just talked about. So by Quartile offering the ability to optimize to a per SKU basis, and then taking it a step further, having the hourly bidding on top of that, coffee is a great example of that. We have our highest conversion rates between 5 and 9 in the morning when people are drinking coffee, right? It really slows down in the afternoon.
Right.
So with Quartile having kind of single keyword per single campaigns, and knowing that we have a higher conversion rate in the morning, it can take our 20 something thousand campaigns and it can bid higher in the mornings and scale back in the afternoons to kind of give us the best ACOS across the board.
For somebody who seems, very knowledgeable in this space, in the ad space, very hands-on in terms of the numbers, how did you reconcile giving some trust to automation, knowing that Quartile's platform obviously excels in the hourly bidding based off of our machine learning? There still has to be some sort of trust that you give to the automation. How did you reconcile that, knowing you're somebody who's very hands-on, that you had to kind of give some of the trust to the machine learning?
It was really proof was in the testing. Obviously, I like to be pretty hands-on, and we still kind of are. I think the best way to use Quartile is, it's like 90% automated, but you still need to be in there 10% of the time making some adjustments on these SKU by SKU things on a weekly basis to really get the
Right.
most out of
Right.
it. But when we started it, within a month, our ACOS and tacos approved by several points. So it proved itself out pretty quickly. And other accounts that I've seen it work on has done the same thing as well.
No, for sure. And you have here a slide talking about combination of AI with manual daily intervention. I'll just walk through some of these 7 steps and maybe you can kind of help explain.
Yeah.
Step 1, analyze CAC and LTV and profitability for every ASIN. So I think we've covered that. Number 2, establish account-wide tacos goal and individual ASIN tacos goal. So we've definitely covered that. Implement AI on paid advertising campaigns. So that's utilizing our hourly bidding across the board, establish IA costs on each agent, step 5. So we've talked about that. Launch DSP with Amazon Marketing Cloud audiences. Talk to
Yeah.
us a little bit about that.
So
So we
it's
figured out the foundation of PPC. We're being efficient. We have an
mhm.
IA cost. What role does DSP play into all
So
this?
Quartile is unique in the fact they have a seat on the Amazon DSP, which is makes it much easier. No minimums. Like Amazon has a $50,000 a month minimum right now if you go directly to them. So Quartile has no minimums, which is nice. We've really been able to figure out what audiences work there. Most campaigns I see that have most effect in DSP are spending probably 10 to 15% of their overall budget on DSP, starting with bottom funnel. Like we always run, for example, add to cart through Amazon Marketing Cloud, that audience, which is like similar to a Meta or Shopify add to cart audience, which works really well for us. We have retention-based audiences to try to focus on repeat rates. We have subscription audiences with people that have purchased 2 times or more and haven't subscribed, and we try to push them into a subscription, which works really, really well. Then we have just regular remarketing kind of bottom funnel tiers. We also do a lot of cross-sell campaigns through DSP. So if they bought this, they're likely to buy this. And then where we've had success going upper funnel is previously for a couple of years, we ran consideration campaigns and the ROAS was kind of low. But lately with Amazon Marketing Cloud, these new contextual campaigns that kind of act like lookalike audiences on Meta, we found really high ROAS for upper level campaigns through there. So DSP is super important. If you look at Vitacup's DSP performance over time, it's drastically improved over the last 2 years, thanks to Quartile's help and the algorithm running that there. And it's also helped us add a lot of subscribers. I think we're up to about 34,000 subscribers today. So that's
amazing.
a pretty big role in that.
At what point is there a diminishing return? Because for those who might be hesitant to pull the trigger on programmatic ads, they feel like, hey, I'm just going to double down on sponsored product. That's really where we get a lot of our margin from. At what point is it a moment where you have to realize, hey, we have to start expanding outside the platform? Programmatic's the way to go, and investment in DSP is integral to survive in this particularly competitive space.
I think any brand spending over $50,000 a month should be spending on DSP. I mean, that's kind of the threshold. Now, while there's a lot of brands I know that spend a few $100,000 a month that don't touch DSP, and they're missing out. They definitely could be a lot more efficient by having that. And there's also big brands that spend way too much on it, to be honest with you. Like I've talked to some beauty brands that have 30-40% of their budget there because they care more about branding than they do about actual conversions. I'm way more ROI conversion focused. I think 10 to 15% is that kind of sweet spot.
Got it. In terms of the coffee space, any particular insights on how DSP is utilized, overutilized, underutilized?
I think that we're probably utilizing it more than others. I see a lot of other companies not utilizing it that much at all. Now, a lot of people don't have access to use a seat, right? If they're going, they'll probably have their Amazon rep emailing them saying, hey, you can run a $50,000 test, and that just puts people off. So,
right. No. I can definitely see why for such a huge investment for something where they really don't have a proven track record, it's causing some hesitancy there.
It's also Amazon doesn't know how to do it that well themselves. Before I started using DSP on Quartile, we ran that Amazon test, and it was abysmal. Right. It was terrible. They didn't know how to run it, and they put it all under one audience. Like you have to break apart the audiences and test different things.
Yeah, in what way did AMC and obviously access to that seat through Quartile, in what way did that enable you and your team to really leverage DSP in the way that made sense for Vitacup?
That's where we were able to add like the add to cart audiences. That's where contextual top of funnel came into play. I mean, I think DSP performance, if you look at our chart, just got drastically better when AMC audiences were brought into the mix.
Got it. And for those who are a little bit new, Amazon Marketing Cloud or AMZ allows us to access or allows advertisers to access, unique audiences through programmatic ads, cart abandoners, lookalike audiences, so on and so forth. The things that Brandon mentioned. How does bringing traffic to Amazon, how does that entire structure feed into itself? From auto campaigns to individual ASINs, we mentioned a little bit earlier about Quartile 1 and how you leverage that unique structure that we offer. How does all of that work in terms of feeding the engine and the traffic that goes to Amazon?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to explain Quartile and how it works with Amazon is take a word like coffee, right? And now you're going to run an automatic campaign on the word coffee or coffee pod. Quartile is going to kind of go wide on it. I kind of call it more of like an accordion approach, like go wide on it and see what's potentially to convert, what does convert. Then it starts to create a bunch of other campaigns off that or offshoot campaigns that are long tail campaigns or more exact match or more phrase match campaigns. And as it finds these keywords that converts, it creates one keyword per one campaign, right? Which is really the unique thing about the system, because then you can apply the hourly bidding and everything across that. It's a lot easier to make adjustments when it's campaign level adjustments with one keyword in it versus adjusting a whole thing where certain keywords might not play well together. So while you
Right,
might
right,
start off with these auto campaigns, you might end up with 20,000 exact match campaigns or waterfall campaigns. And the system, as it kind of outperforms and it's like under Taco's goals, it's going to constantly keep looking for more and adding new campaigns on a daily basis. And, looking at Vitacup that has over like 20,000 active campaigns, no human can manage that. So the only way to do it is with machine
right.
learning.
Do you foresee that this is something that, let me rephrase, that challenge that there's a lot of campaigns to manage, there's so much information there. Is that just the price to pay? Obviously, Quartile as a platform allows you to parse through that information, does it all at scale. But this level of granularity, is that really where brands need to be? Or is it possible to run ads where it's not so single ace and single keyword match type
I
approach?
think when Amazon's constantly raising their fees every quarter and it's getting more and more expensive to sell there, every single point matters. So like Vitacup has a goal of reducing our tacos by 1% a month. We've been able to do that for the last 24 months in a row. And there's no way we could have done that without Quartile's assistance. And it doesn't matter if you have 20,000 or 100,000 campaigns. It's all the data is ported into a nice dashboard to be able to look at it and see it. So it doesn't really matter.
No. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Before we switch over to a little bit more targeting strategy, I wanted to talk about, before we wrap up AMC, utilizing the audiences and programmatic ads through DSP. Were there any audiences that surprised you that said, hey, we actually have customers in this part of the States. We actually have customers that have this type of behavioral or contextual triggers that
Yeah, so
you weren't aware of prior to running ads?
prior to running the contextual campaigns, I was not a believer in upper funnel DSP. Every consideration campaign I'd run or every Amazon audience they'd given us was like a sub 1 ROAS. After using contextual, it moved up to like above a 3, which for upper funnel is pretty phenomenal. So the fact that they were able to figure out kind of the meta lookalike audience thing into contextual was a big deal.
Right. Today, has some of that information, seeped into other marketing, approaches that you've done outside of Amazon, knowing that you have some of this information on who the customer is and where they're from and how they buy?
I'd say it would have. We used to be a lot bigger spender on Meta. Now, because our acquisition cost is so much lower on Amazon, it gets the bulk of our spend. But I could see how it would for others.
Right. For sure. Let's move on now to targeting strategy. I'll share my screen here real quick, and we have some numbers here talking specifically about Amazon subscription growth. Walk us through what we're looking at here, and how does this relate to overall strategy? Just give me 1 second, and I'll share the screen. Okay. Yeah. So walk us through this Amazon subscription growth. Yeah.
Our goal, and we've really kind of figured this out a lot over the last 12 to 18 months, is to grow by 200 to 300 net new subs per week. And we pretty much do that like clockwork. We know whether our subscription rate is per SKU. We know that using DSP, if we can run an audience that someone has purchased 2 times or more, we will run a SNS coupon within a banner on DSP, and we have a high conversion rate on that specific DSP audience. And it really has become kind of a math game for us. We know exactly what our spend on our tacos is, and we know how to convert that into a sub, and it's about 200 to 300 every week. Some weeks higher, but that's about the average.
Got it. Oh, hold on. How do you project this changing, or how does this information adjust how you're going to be approaching Q4 or the second half of this year?
We finally figured it all out, and we're just going to keep going with the same methodology that we have now.
Yeah, just dump more fuel onto it and grow from there.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit about DSP performance. Walk us through what these numbers look like. What is this telling us in terms of, you've refined your DSP strategy?
Yeah, so the most important number to look at here. Sorry to interrupt you. The most important number to look at here is the column that says total SNS. You can see that in April here, it led to, I can't read that number, about 1,500, 1,600 subs. I think July was actually up to close to 2,000. This is couple months outdated. So you can see what we're really optimizing to is how we're using DSP to grow subs on a monthly basis. That's net new subs.
Is there any drawback to this? You're utilizing DSP, you're getting subscribers. Is there any kind of potential drawback to this strategy? If it's seemingly to do really well, it's scalable, you're able to kind of be super efficient with it. Are there any kind of drawbacks?
Just the fact that, it all depends on how much you spend. Like if our audiences were bigger and we had even larger budgets, we could probably do 10x this, but we are operating within a certain budget.
I see. This little dip here, I know it might be a little too specific, but it says here December 2023. We see a little dip here, then we kind of revert back to the mean. What happened in December of last year?
That was a price match with Walmart. We lost a buy box on a few SKUs. So we actually, that's a whole nother topic I could talk about for an hour, but and have
For sure.
with CNBC and others. But we actually had to make some unique organic SKUs for Amazon to get around some Walmart and Target price match issues.
Got it. As the founder of Vitacup, you see this number here, April of last year, you're at 1,600, April of this year, 1,600 total new subscribe and save, or is that total existing subscribe and save, 1,500?
That's net new coming through DSP.
Net new for that. Okay, so is that number something you're happy with? Saying, "Hey, we're good. We're just going to continue to."
We're actually up
grow,
to this month. This month should be about 2,000. So we're trying to grow that every month. That's a few months outdated. So August should be about 2,000.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk now about Amazon cohorts. Walk us through this, what the highlights are, retention, subscribe and save, customer spending each year.
Yes.
What is these numbers?
We look at our Amazon cohort data, and as you can see here, it gets more and more green as you go through the chart. That's just the algorithm getting smarter and us focusing more on the higher repeat rate SKUs. And this is the proof in the pudding, really, that statement.
Right. When you say algorithm is getting smarter, for those who are like, is it really AI? Is it some sort of, sentient being that's inside the computer making these decisions? How do you view the automation learning when you see these green numbers, which look great? How do you explain that to somebody who has hesitancy to even understand, well, what is the AI actually doing here?
The AI is making adjustments to the campaign to improve performance based on the inputs that you put into the system. I mean, that's the easiest way to explain it, right? So we continue to adjust the inputs and tell it where to spend more on the higher repeat rate SKUs. And as it learns more, it performs better, and that you can see that here.
Is this something replicatable or something that can be done in some way?
Absolutely, yeah.
How so?
Most companies that sell on Amazon do not look at their repeat rates at all. I can tell you probably 9 out of 10 people I talk to don't even know how to pull that data. It's not something that Amazon Seller Central gives you. It's something that I have tech people on my team that pull the data manually and figure it out. There are a couple third-party tools you can use to pull this, but the majority of people that sell on Amazon never look at it.
Right. As we continue to talk about repeat rates, what are these numbers telling us based on new clients, reformulating green tea sticks? I think you mentioned earlier.
This is just an example of some of our products and what their repeat rates are, to show you, like, we look at this on a monthly basis, and the top 10 ones are the ones that are going to get the most spend, and the ones at the bottom are going to barely get any spend. And also the ones that at the bottom that have low repeat rates will get not produced anymore and switched out.
If we were to say tomorrow, Brandon Fishman decides, hey, I'm happy with coffee, but I want to try something else. I want to go into nutraceuticals. I want to go into, supplements. Is this approach, utilizing Quartile, can that be replicated in another category? Is there something unique in coffee that is really fueling some of the success?
So absolutely can be duplicated. I mean, one thing to look at is coffee is one of the higher repeat rate categories on Amazon. Pets actually has the highest, like pet food and pet treats is actually the single best category on Amazon. And supplements are up there really high. So understanding that Amazon data is important before you go into a certain category, but it can all be can be replicated,
regardless of how intense the competition may be or some of the incumbents that already exist.
You have to have a quality product. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't have a product that people don't want, if you have a product that people want to buy again, and the other thing here too is, what we've really seen over the last 4 or 5 months make a significant difference on Amazon is TikTok Shop. Right. TikTok Shop has grown quite a bit, and just last week they announced the Amazon TikTok integration. I have some brands that I do some work with that have blown up on TikTok Shop, and their Amazon sales have 5x because they have one TikTok that went viral. So their brand searches grow up, and they grow. And I think that's, most people aren't aware of what TikTok Shop is yet. It's the fastest growing marketplace in the world.
Right.
And I think the combination of TikTok Shop and Amazon is a really important one.
For sure. The duality as well in terms of customers that are brand new versus customers that are already existing. How do you approach that? As you try and grow subscribers, there are already those who have already subscribed. How do you nurture and engage with both those who are brand new to Vitacup and those who have already been subscribed for a long time?
Yeah, so I think that's going to change a lot in the coming months when Amazon rolls out more of their CRM system that's planned, so you can send emails and stay in touch with your customers. I think that's going to be an
Right.
important rollout, and they're going to talk more about that at Accelerate in a couple weeks. So I would look out for more on that. As far as got to customers that haven't been there in a while, I mean that's where you use DSP. So we use also where you can use brand tailor promos on Seller Central
Mhm.
at least. So looking at like at-risk customers or top customers, brand tailor promos are probably the single biggest way to conversion rate on Amazon, and look at those audiences.
No, for sure, for sure. What role does introducing new products play into capturing some of these old customers who potentially might be able to purchase some of these new products that you're introducing?
So some, I would say on Amazon, very search based, right? It's a very search based platform, more searches there than on Google for products on a daily basis. So when we launch, if I were to launch a blueberry coffee tomorrow, right, I'm going to pick up people that are actually searching blueberry coffee. I'm going to pick up very few people that maybe
Right.
buy my Genius coffee. I think it's a really
I see.
search based environment. Look at where the searches are.
That's actually quite interesting. So for myself, I drink tea all the time, and I'm straight up Earl Grey or English breakfast. And even though the company that I buy from would introduce a bunch of other flavors, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for those flavors if I'm kind of locked in on these two that I go for. Would you say that's the
Yeah, we
same for
see
coffee, that people are kind of
coffee and
locked in?
coffee and tea is a pretty habitual habit. But then again, if you look at across Amazon, variety packs are huge because people want to try everything. So a lot of
Right,
times
right.
you'll see brands that really lead with the variety pack, and then people make their second purchase on the flavor they like the most out of the variety pack.
Has Vitacup seen relative success in trying to create these variety packs to introduce some of these new flavors?
Yes. Yeah, we've done well with that.
Okay. Any emerging flavor that you've introduced this year that you'd love for more people to know about?
Yeah, we have mineral coffee. It uses trace minerals, which is a pretty up and coming thing in the supplement world. Slower start than
Right.
I wanted on that one. Sometimes our products take off big, and sometimes a little bit more niche, but it does have a really high repeat for the people that have tried it. So that's one to check out.
What are some of the benefits of the trace minerals that are in the coffee?
It has like electrolytes. It's potassium, good for the body. It's just we try to
Oh,
make
nice.
coffee healthier, basically.
Got it. Same level of caffeine, though, right?
Same level of caffeine. Yeah.
Nice, nice. When we talk about how we approach ads, obviously very granular here, automation, hourly bidding. We do have the flexibility of introducing rules that, of course, we know that there's going to be different use cases, different products are going to have different goals and KPIs and what have you. What role has setting specific rules played in your ability to navigate Quartile's flexibility, knowing that, hey, I could probably set it and forget it here, but there's going to be times where I need to create rules? Talk to us a little bit about how you had to engage on the rules side of ad management.
Yeah. Couple of things. Well, we do keep account level budget caps in play. And then we up our budget caps on Sundays when we know that the conversion rate and coffee buying rate is much, much higher. So we change the rules on a day by day basis. We change the rules, obviously, when there's a tentpole event like Prime Day and all things like that.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
and we also have like mixed views and feelings on what rules to play when it comes to negative keywords. Um,
Mm,
if you
how
think
so?
about the way that like AI and Quartile was designed to work, right? It will test almost everything, and it's only going to leave it in there if it actually had a conversion, right? So, for example, one of our team members was like, "I was searching for one of your coffees, and one of your teas came up." And I'm like, "Well, normally, and if you're managing a campaign manually, you would negate the word tea from
Negate.
coffee, but we've
Right.
actually." Someone may have never known that we had tea if they hadn't seen that ad there because they were searching Vitacup and they're like, oh, they all
Mm,
has to drink tea. I'm going to see that. So it wouldn't have stayed there and spent more than a certain amount in a certain rule that we set unless it had converted at some point. So there's an argument to be made either side that AI should incorporate more negatives, but then the whole point of AI is it should test everything, and if it doesn't work, then it negates it out automatically, or it doesn't. There's I can make an argument either way on that one.
For sure. No, for sure. Um, we talked about previously about having a higher ACOS. I know we touched on it a little bit more. Is there a ceiling where the ACOS, obviously 100%, but like where is that sweet spot where you're like, I am comfortable with my ACOS being at the very most this number because I know lifetime value and all that stuff play in, and I'm fine playing in those numbers.
For us, it's really seasonal. ACOS and CPC shoot up in July because of Prime Day and a couple weeks after, and we just are okay with that. They also kind of shoot up in October when it gets really competitive for coffee, which is like a big coffee season. But we know that customers we acquire in October have a much higher lifetime value. So hard to answer that question because it's really case by case basis.
For sure. Is there any kind of strategy with upcoming Cyber 5 that you're going to be adjusting to or trying to test out?
Yeah, well, Amazon made a big mistake with the upcoming Cyber 5. They actually told every brand yesterday that if you want to have a top deal, you have to discount for 12 days in a row. I don't know a single brand that's going to discount for 12 days in a row. So I think that's going to throw off a lot of their top deal scenario. I mean, they already have increased their fees so much that it makes it hard to make any money for anybody. Discounting 12 days is just a recipe for disaster. So someone made a poor decision there.
Do you think, if we were to use the logic previously that we talked about, do you think there's a case to be made that 12 days, though it might kind of be a loss leader in terms of how much discounting you're providing, would eventually, provide a positive in terms of lifetime value?
I don't think so. My feeling on Black Friday, Cyber Monday is that it's not the best time to acquire new customers. It's very expensive to advertise. It's time to activate those customers that maybe have been in your portfolio and haven't purchased for a while. That's why it's a great time to use DSP and kind of reactivate those people. But I tend to not try to overspend during those times because it's not the best CAC. And those are typically discount buyers, not going to have the best lifetime value.
Right. So that ought to be completely different in terms of how you would traditionally approach lifetime value.
Right.
We've been talking to Brandon Fishman, CEO of Vitacup. Brandon, as we wrap up, 2 last questions. First, what are questions that brand owners are not asking in 2024? If they're in the CPG space, they're trying to find ways to efficiently grow. What 2 or 3 things are they not thinking about, or questions that they're not asking that they need to start asking now about their ads?
They're not asking what's my lifetime value on Amazon. They're not asking, am I managing my Amazon ads to an ASIN level tacos or an ASIN level ACOS? A lot of them are not using the right kinds of automation. There's a lot of self-serve automation platforms out there that really suck, like just that are worse than manual. I really do think.
When you say suck, how would you quantify what suck is? Like, what do you see that are red flags that are like, hey, that's probably not the right automation tool we should go for?
I'm not a big fan of ones that charge a percentage of revenue. I think that's silly. I think it's antiquated and old. I'd rather be able to budget for it and pay a flat fee. Ones that are really self-serve. You really need to have the expertise to use these systems, and self-serve is tough. And a lot of these people like get sold by AI, and then they have the platform and they don't know what they're doing. So those are my red flags.
And finally, thank you so much for joining us, Brandon. I think this is a really great 33 minutes has gone by literally in a snap, and this has been like some really fantastic information. Lastly, before we go, while we respectful of your time here, we have a very unique relationship, Quartile, Vitacup, that even though we're very much invested and proud of what we've built automation-wise and tech-wise, we've also equally invested in our human intelligence, our human talent. We have over 300 employees worldwide. We have a really great working relationship. Walk us through, how does this relationship exist, and how does this relationship between Quartile and Vitacup allow Vitacup and enable Vitacup and enable you to accomplish kind of the goals that you've had?
Yeah, it's been really crucial. I mean, coming from the top with Daniel and Silvio, who I've had a good relationship with for about 6 years, they take feedback really well, and they've looked at all the results of Vitacup and actually made improvements in the Quartile system based on things that we've seen. And that's big for us because that's actually really helped improve performance for us across the board. And also just the talent internally. We work with, I've worked with Daniel Albs there really closely for like the last 3 or 4 years. He's he's phenomenal, and the support team that we have working on our accounts has been really beneficial. And that's where you get, I think, with Quartile is like you get the whole team that we're working on rather than just the self-service, which is a big.
For sure. How can people learn more about you, Brand? How can they reach out to you if they want some of your advice, some maybe of your thought leadership, some of your advisory? You're on an Amazon advisory board. How can they reach out to you, and how can they find you?
Sure. You can email me at brandon@vitacup.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, send a message. Help a lot of brands with Amazon. Always happy to help out.
For sure. And these upcoming activities or conferences or events are going to be at any of them. You let us know if you're available.
Yes. I'm going to be at the Commerce Roundtable in San Diego on September 23rd, I think. Speaking about a little bit of this and some more Amazon stuff.
Awesome. Will we get a chance to see you at Accelerate or Unboxed?
Possibly. I've done my fair share of those, and not sure we go every year, but we'll see.
Got it. Well, we'll be there, and we definitely hope to see you there. Brandon Fishman from Vitacup, thank you so much for your insights again. Final word, final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I appreciate the time, appreciate the partnership with Quartile, and look forward to keep Vitacup growing on the platform.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Thanks, guys.